Hi guys, welcome to SosinIAS Academy. This is Hima Hegde presenting before you the current and contemporary affairs in anthropology. Let's begin with the anthropology of space. At first sight, anthropology and space exploration may seem to be two completely different fields with nothing or very little in common. When one thinks about space exploration, the most common associations are with disciplines such as engineering, physics, medicine, robotics, IT, and others related to the technology required for the endeavor and for keeping humans alive. On the other hand, anthropology is immediately associated with the study of non Western, non white, and non industrialized societies. Indeed, at its beginning as an independent academic discipline in the second half of 19th century, it was very much about this and only this. Nevertheless, as anthropology is ultimately interested in finding out what it means to be human and how people make sense of the world in the most diverse contexts, its research spectrum has gradually broadened. Nowadays, it embraces the study of any social group and its cultural idiocracies, including the scientists and astronauts. Every single society has questioned what there is beyond Earth, the origins of the universe, and all that it encompasses, including humankind, and each has found explanations to the unknown phenomena through specific modes of expertise. For some, the cosmos was created by God and in the home of powerful deities. Others, in a very specific context, that is Europe in 17th century, started to systematically study outer space using the emergent scientific methods and technological devices that augmented our senses, turned the invisible visible, and went where humans could not. This very specific way of making sense of the world has profoundly changed the imaginary about the cosmos in some societies and changed the way many people perceive and relate to the universe, to Earth, and all the species that live on our planet. Nowadays, in Western scientific cosmologies, the universe is thought to have been created by the Big Bang and to be ruled by natural laws, which can be translated in mathematical equations. Such a worldview is culturally embedded. Therefore, space exploration and scientists working on these projects are subjects that concern anthropology. Furthermore, since the 1970s, people have been living in the space for increasingly longer periods of time and have been experiencing what it means to be human in a radically different context. Our sense of being is inherently relational to our surroundings, to the conditions presented by them and by those around us, which we take for granted here on earth. Therefore, the experience of living in radically different conditions will deeply affect our perspective, senses, and relationships. The simple fact that there is no gravity makes everything completely different. Since the ISS, that is the International Space Station, began operating in 2000, this hybrid of dwelling or lab has been permanently inhabited by astronauts from different academic and cultural backgrounds, all of who must live together and cope with the extreme environment of outer space and challenges it presents. Let us now have a brief look into the importance of social gatherings. According to a recent research, you can feel more socially accepted by making an effort to acknowledge good things that have been happening to you and your life when you meet others for food and drink. A new study has revealed that making a conscious effort to recognize the positive life events and successes while meeting for food can leave you feeling socially more accepted. The research published online in the Journal of Public Policy and Marketing finds that celebrations with three conditions, that is social gathering, eating or drinking, and intentionally marking a positive life event, will increase perceived social support. Perceived social support, according to previous research, is the belief you have a social network that will be there for you in case of future negative events. That belief is associated with health and well-being outcomes, including increased lifespan and decreased anxiety and depression. Many celebrations this time of the year or any other time include 2 to 3 conditions. That is, eating and drinking while gathering together. This is what most of the professors have to say. Adding another condition, that is making an intentional effort to recognize others' positive achievements, is the key. For example, take the time to congratulate someone for getting accepted to their first choice university, or a work project that went well, or a new job offer. This will maximize the benefits to your well-being and the well-being of all the attendees at the holiday party. White and the co-authors of the article, including the other professors, have been the participants, and the research revealed that even if gatherings are virtual, if everyone has food and drink, no matter if it's healthy or indulgent, and they are celebrating positive events, this also increases a person's perceived social support and they can receive the same well-being benefits from it. The researchers note that hosting celebrations that increase perceived social support can especially be beneficial at places serving populations more at risk of loneliness and isolation, like nursing homes and community centers. They also note the importance of understanding the well-being benefits of celebrations for policymakers looking to implement regulations or measures that could impact social gatherings like COVID lockdowns to avoid negative consequences on mental health. They recommend that if organizers need to have virtual celebrations, they should involve some type of consumption and marking of a separate positive life event so that people leave the celebration feeling socially supported. Moving on, we have film ethnography. Speaking of the communal practice of anthropology and film ethnography, in 1977, while reviewing a film about East African people, P.T.W. Baxter stated that anthropology and film ethnography were incompatible because they fundamentally differ in methods and aims. On this occasion, as Lucien Taylor suggests in his article Iconophobia, How Anthropology Lost It at the Movies, Baxter argued that each discipline seeks quite different aspects of truth and utilizes different means of stitching scraps of culture together creatively. A decade later, as Taylor continues to argue, Maurice Bloch not only declared that he is not very interested in ethnographic films, but more that he can hardly bear to watch them at all. In the same vein, the anthropologist Kirsten Hastrup continued to defend the written primacy of the discipline to combat photographic and audiovisual representations of a given culture. In her article, Anthropological Visions, Some Notes, Visuals and Textual Authority, Hastrup places a whole series of oppositions between films and texts, seeking to qualify the difference between visual and textual power of anthropology. On one hand, she argues that the film is only capable of producing a thin description of happenings. Text, on the contrary, is able to fabricate a thick description of an event which is already a happening invested with cultural significance and in her words, while a thin description may capture forms, it cannot of itself convey the implicit meaning. Forms are culturally meaningless when studied independently of local meaning and relations and contemporary conventions of representation. Backstop, Bloch, and Hastrup take films as an unquestionably lower epistemological production if compared to the written texts. Contrary to their belief, several researchers do not see why film cannot be constitutive of anthropological knowledge. On one hand, the vision as cinema itself constantly and literally frames the world. It comes naturally equipped with focus and losing focus, depth of field, left and right edges, top and bottom limits. On the other hand, also our ears, as film's acoustic surroundings, ensure the embodiment of visual perceptions because we only see in one framed and flat direction, whereas hearing is always three-dimensional.